Due to the coronavirus pandemic, all major pro sports began to fall like dominoes shortly after Rudy Gobert tested positive for coronavirus. But the Ultimate Fighting Championship, featuring mixed martial arts fights, was more driven than any other sports league to bring their product back on ESPN and pay-per-view. After canceling 6 events in order to comply with the CDC and to prevent the spread of COVID-19, UFC Commissioner Dana White was very determined to get fights back on TV. So on May 9th, in Jacksonville, Florida, a system was in place, and right before the fights, I caught up with Cal Poly Jr. Trent KAMMERER to hear his thoughts on fights coming back.
It'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be a really good litmus test to see if fanless sports are viable.
The UFC was the first major sports league to return to the United States during the COVID-19 pandemic. The event, UFC 249, featured some entertaining fights even before the main event, with some big knockouts, according to KAMMERER.
First one especially was just a stacked card. I was watching even the prelims, and there were some fights on there that were unbelievable. I couldn't believe that they were prelim fights. And then pretty much every single fight on the main card was, well worth the watch. A lot of the times it's not until it's the co-main or the actual main event where the fight's worth watching. So I felt pretty fortunate to be able to have so many fights chalked into one, awesome night, especially when we haven't had any sports for a long time.
After watching from home, KAMMERER says he was able to actually hear punches land and coaches talking to the fighters in the octagon during the fights. Normally, due to crowd noise, that is very hard to hear during the broadcast. After this historic event, only one fighter, Jacare Souza, and 2 of his cornermen tested positive for COVID-19, although all parties were self-isolating in this case, and there was no spread according to the UFC. The company is officially back in action, and sports fans around the world are able to watch live sports again.
Let's just start off with an applause for Dana White for being able to pull all of this off in an incredibly difficult time with a whole lot of uncertainty and a lot of scary things going on, especially, the virus it's not a joke. It's a scary thing.
With the future somewhat foggy ahead, pro sports entertainment is slowly coming back, including international pro soccer leagues now returning. The NHL and the NBA both now have a plan in place to return. And of course, the UFC is back with another event coming Saturday, June 6th at the UFC Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. For MNTV, I'm Tony Farias.